Okay, so I can't show much if any footage here. We'll see what happens because they are taking down every video that has a trace of evidence on what took place. But we have to talk about the Olympics that are currently taking place in France. The big news is in regards to what appeared to be by many a mockery of the Last Supper that was entirely unrelated to the games that people were watching to see and were filled with drag fiends to really push the disrespect home. The issue with this, and the cause of why people are having such a visceral reaction, is since these things only happen in regards to Christianity, and that's the only, let's call it, big religion they would ever have had the balls to mock. Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, Shinto, none of these would have been mocked in the same way. Christians and their religion is being used as a punching bag, and everyone just accepts it as if it's a good thing that that kind of treatment has become entirely normalized. It's not a good thing at all. It's discrimination, and it's crazy to me how much of the world is okay with it happening solely because it's happening to Christians specifically. Now, for the alleged parody itself, it could be a reference to Greek gods, given the fact that it is the Olympics after all, since some of the presentation lines up to Greek as well. But given how some of the people involved are hyped about the controversy, like the blue naked man, I'm going to have to guess that mocking Christians was the main goal for some of them at the end of the day. Plus, some actually posted that it was a mockery, calling it the Gay Testament, and they were literally the ones putting on the show, so again, it feels like that's exactly what the intention was. Regardless, it wasn't appropriate for an important sporting event that is broadcasted around the world, representing many places within said world, as well as representing France as a whole. I'd be extremely ashamed if I lived in France and this is what my home decided to do, especially given the things that were noticeably present, even though these events involve children in some regard. Things I can't even show you due to nudity guidelines, if that gives you an idea. It's all just a mess that could have been entirely avoided if we didn't force this kind of representation within places and events that it doesn't belong. This was a show. It was a way to get people riled up, and there is no way that you're going to convince me that out of everyone involved, nobody, not one singular person, even considered the offense a possibility, especially, again, given the comments and posts that have come from the drag fiends that were directly involved, the main performers of the entire spectacle. Whether you believe in Christianity or not shouldn't even matter in this situation. Normalizing mocking it should be something that bothers everyone, regardless of what main religion is being mocked and by who, especially since Christianity specifically seems to get unjustly made fun of, mocked, and disregarded quite often as if it's the right thing to do, just because the performers were drag performers and consider themselves a marginalized community, a minority, oppressed, etc., doesn't make them exempt from ridicule for this, their statements, or how they present themselves. They represented the entire drag community for the entire world to see, and this was that representation. In fact, this probably affected the entire LGBT plus community as a whole. Replace Christianity with any other main religion and it becomes a problem, right? So then that same problem, that same feeling of hesitancy or guilt should be applied to Christianity as well. Consequences should occur due to this. The butterfly effect will happen, and it will cause even more harm to all that claim to be a part of the LGBT plus community. Now, all that being said, there are exceptions in my personal opinion. Comedy shows like South Park that poke fun at everyone, shows like Hazbin Hotel that take their own spin on Christianity, or elements from it at least. Stuff like that I don't mind too much. Heck, even Christian comedians like Tim Hawkins have made videos such as Christian cuss words, which I find hilarious by the way, that could be considered a mockery of the idea that we shouldn't let unclean words leave our mouths, break others down, etc. At the end of the day, it's a time and place type of situation, and the Olympics isn't the time, nor is it the place. If you equate drag queens to sports for some odd reason, I would love to hear your reasons why in the comments below. Surprise me. this is gonna be good. But just like in most of my videos that have some relation to the LGBT plus community, I have to urge you once again, consider how you come off when you do stuff like this and the harm it may have for the image of the community as a whole. Not all representation is good representation, and if you get enough of a bad reputation, the outcome of that will be entirely your faults. I get that mental illness runs rampant in your community, but y'all are lacking accountability too, which is far, far worse. Props to all those that relate to the letters in some regard, and yet openly separate themselves from the community aspect altogether. Y'all are the real ones. But I have some criticisms in regards to Christians as well. You have every right to be upset about your interpretation of this performance. If you saw it live and they didn't explain it at all, which is exactly what happened. So, in definition, they lift it up to interpretation. So whether it is actually a mockery of the Last Supper or not is not something that I'm going to fault you for at all. And if you saw many news articles and many conservative politicians and many conservative news outlets and many news outlets in general saying that it was a mockery of the Last Supper, because again, that's what it appeared to be, and you shared that post because you don't have very in-depth and rich knowledge of Greek mythology, then you know what? I don't really fault you for that either. You believed what you were told to believe from a news outlet that you think that you should trust because they're supposed to provide you the news, and the news is supposed to be truthful. Is it? No. Can they get it wrong? Of course. Does that mean the news outlet's intentions were malicious? Of course not. Which is why I can't attribute your actions to malicious intent either, and nobody else should as well. That being said, how some of you have handled this perceived mockery isn't Christ-like at all, and that's kinda what we're supposed to be if we're going to be Christians, given the fact that Christian in fact means Christ-like. Now, I'm not out here saying that you shouldn't say, hey, this is perceived as a mockery of the Last Supper. This right here is wrong. This isn't right. This is hateful. This is yada yada yada. You have every right to say that, and I'm not saying that you don't. But what you don't have the right to do, say, hey, I wish ill will towards these people because this was their intentions and this is how I feel about it. Oh, back in the Bible when bad things happen, this is what happened, so I want this to happen to these people right now because of how they made me feel. You shouldn't be wishing death on anyone. It doesn't matter how much you disagree with them or how much hate you think they're spewing. It is not your place as a Christian to spew that. It is not your place as a Christian to spew that hate back. You are supposed to be loving through and through. You are supposed to show the love of God, the love of Christ, even to your enemies. Love your enemies as yourself. That is what you are called to do. You are called to spread the gospel. The gospel spreads love. It doesn't say to hate your enemies. It says to love them. Again, this doesn't mean that you can't counter what somebody says or does. You can't disagree with them. You can't point out that they are wrong. But you have to do so in a way that is not hateful. And I've seen a lot of hate come out of this. I get it. Emotions are high. Y'all feel really disrespected. I feel really disrespected, even with the knowledge that it may not have been made to be disrespectful. It may not have been the intention to disrespect Christians. That is the outcome that happened. That is how it made me feel, and I have every right to that feeling. But I don't have a right to be hateful because of it, and I'm trying my best not to do that. So I ask, especially in my comment section, to please not be hateful towards anyone that disagrees with you or disagrees with anything in this video, especially if you're going to claim Christianity, if you're going to claim Christ. This is your chance to be a light. Spread the gospel through your actions, so please do that here. Anyway, that was a unscripted rant at the end there. I wasn't originally going to bring up Christians in this video, especially since I have other videos dedicated to how I believe Christians should treat people that disagree with them, but emotions kind of took over and this is what happened. So yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Have a great day. Thank you.